while since I've posted anything. I know I've gotten a few new subscribers in the last couple of months, I think, so thank you for that. Not very exciting, but still glad to have you. I am sitting here in my messy room. There's my laundry and blankets that that have been washed and folded but not put away, and some paper products on my bed, and just sitting here. It is Father's Day 2022. My husband and son went to church. I stayed home again. I feel like I only ever make videos when I've stayed home from church, which is not good. But what was I gonna say? Although it was really cute, when they were leaving, I said to my husband, well, both my husband and my son, I said, thank you I said, goodbye, my men of God, and my son said, you're of God too, or something like that. And I was like, oh, I don't know, it was just sweet. But anyway, it was a good reminder. I think I stayed home today for a couple of reasons. One reason was, honestly, it's Father's Day, and I just wanted to tidy up my house because we're hosting both dads at our house. My husband's dad and my dad, and then my family and my husband's stepmom. So they're all coming over, and I kind of just wanted to tidy up the house. So I was willingly choosing to be a Martha. So there's that. And then the other, I had some anxiety this morning. I'm not really sure why. I think my husband and I kind of got to the root of it, but still, it just kind of seemingly came out of nowhere. And that always kind of takes it out of me a bit. But where was I going with that? Anyway, I guess a couple, but I just did some journaling, and I did a little bit of cleaning, and then I did some journaling, so that was good. A couple little things, I guess, that aren't super exciting. Well, they are for me. I don't know how exciting they are for other people, but for me, it's been kind of life-changing. Is that I was diagnosed about a month ago. Yeah, it was May 12th of 2022 that I was diagnosed with ADHD-I, so inattentive ADHD, which I didn't know that there were different kinds of ADHD, but there's 3 different kinds of ADHD. And so there's the inattentive, so that's the I. There's hyperactive impulsive, which is H, I believe, ADHD-H, and then ADHD-C, which is a combination of the two. And in order for you to have a combination as an adult, I think from each category or from each of the other 2, you have to, I think, meet like 6 of the like 9 or 10. What are they? Symptoms, I guess. Symptoms of each. You have to meet them from both, a certain amount from both, I think. Anyway, I don't remember exactly, but I saw my psychiatrist that day, and I hadn't seen my psychiatrist in a very long time, but I knew something else was wrong. I just could tell something else was wrong. And just like with physical health, you can die from a cut on your finger if it gets infected and you never take care of it, right? So just like with physical health, mental health, if things are left unattended for a long time, eventually they're going to, it's gonna, I don't know, come out more. I don't know. It's going to worsen or evolve, I guess. I don't really know how to describe it. But point is, I knew something else was wrong. So besides just like anxiety, depression. So I went to see my psychiatrist. And I honestly thought that I might have, I never really looked into ADHD. To be honest, I kind of bought the, what I've now learned is very much a misguided lie, really. But it's a lie not out of maliciousness. It's a lie from just misinformation and a lack of information, or not a lack of information, a lack of education. Because ADHD is actually, I believe, one of the most, or if not the most, well-researched and well-documented mental health issues, even above depression and anxiety. It's a very, it's just a very, what's the word? It's just a mental health issue that there's a lot of information about, more so than other issues. Mental issues. And so, but I bought kind of the, typical like, oh, that's just because of all the technology, or, oh, it's overdiagnosed, or, oh, it's just because, teachers don't want to deal with rowdy kids, and, oh, just let's all medicate our kids. And, I kind of, that's what people want to do, is just medicate kids because they don't want to deal with hyper boys being boys or whatever it is. And to be honest, I also kind of thought it was just more of a kids thing. Not a kids thing, but I guess I wasn't educated on it. But I came across a video like 8 months ago now at this point. So last year, about I was watching some videos about planning or bullet journals or something on YouTube, and I came across this one from a channel called How to ADHD. And she was talking about bullet journals, and I know it sounds so funny, but she started talking about what it was like for her as an ADHD adult, and planning, like paper planning, and everything she said resonated with me. It was like, I sent it to my husband, and I was like, I think like this is me, and he's like, yeah, it is, but I did not really think much of it. But I did really like her, and I really liked her videos, so I don't know if I subscribed then or not, but I feel like I watched a few more of her videos, and it was actually, through one of her videos, because I do think I subscribed at one point, and it was actually through one of her videos that my camera is currently, or my iPhone is currently sitting on this book, but I made this myself. This is not what the cover is. I was able to get a free PDF through her YouTube channel, but it's called The Hero's Journal, and I found it through that, and so I made my own cover with some of the downloadable like stickers it came with. But anyway, man, the more I would watch her little videos, the more I just was like, this just resonates with me a lot. But I didn't really think I had ADHD. I think through watching her videos, I was like, okay, it's more, I think I started softening my opinion on it or whatever. But and it's funny because my opinion on things like depression and anxiety had really softened over the last few years, because I realized that I had them. And so it's funny that it's not until it kind of affects you that it took it affecting me for me to be, sympathetic towards others empathetic, I guess, towards others who are dealing with mental health issues. So, just another reminder to walk in other people's shoes and anyway. But having said that, there were things that she talked about that really resonated with me, but I didn't really think that I had ADHD, because for years, I actually thought I had, and for years, I mean like since 2015, so my son would have been like 1, so like for the last 7 years, I actually was pretty convinced, and I'm not the kind of person who's like, who I believe, like believing what Google says, like, oh, I have a cough and I Google it and it's like, I have cancer. Like I'm not like that. I don't believe in Google as my doctor or anything like that. And I'm not even big on self-diagnosis, but like I said, I know myself well enough to be like, something is wrong with me mentally. And so for about the last 7 or 8 years, I had learned about this really rare form of bipolar disorder called cyclothymia disorder, or cyclothemic disorder, something to that effect. And I was pretty convinced that I had cyclothymia. Not fully, it wasn't like something that I walked around and was like, I have cyclothymia, but I just, when I would look at the symptoms of it, that was all I had really looked at besides anxiety, depression, because for years I just felt like something else was wrong. Um, and, uh, anyway, so I thought I had cyclothymia, and I brought that to the attention. So when I went to go see my psychiatrist, all of this to say, the two things that were in my mind that it could possibly be was cyclothymia, because I knew I didn't have full-on bipolar 1 or 2, and and maybe ADHD. But like I said, I didn't really know how I felt about ADHD, and even though I'd softened towards it a little bit, I just was like, no, because I'm not really hyper. Like I've gone through periods of my life where I was a lot more hyper, and I look back at those times when I was a lot more extroverted, and everyone said I was really extroverted, and I, like in my early 20s, late teens, early 20s, and I look back at that time in my life and I'm like, no, that was just a coping mechanism. I am an introvert. I am full on introvert, very much so, and I am not an extrovert. And at the very most, I might have some ambivert tendencies, but I am, if that's even a real thing, who knows. But look at me, there I go again, making a judgment call on something I probably am not educated on. But so anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, because I'm not hyperactive. Like even back then in my early 20s, when I was a lot more seemingly extroverted, which, as I have said, was, looking back, was very clearly a coping mechanism. A coping mechanism and an identity thing. I think it was just the identity I took on, because it was via that as my coping mechanism that people started to say, oh, you're so bubbly all the time and you're so whatever. And so then I took that on as my identity in that my early adulthood. But moving on. I'm sorry, this is kind of a very, like, I honestly wasn't planning on filming this today at all. I just was sitting here, so I decided to grab my phone and film it, I guess. So this is very off the cuff. But so if you're still here, thanks for watching. And anyway, so I didn't really think I had ADHD, because to me, ADHD was just, you're hyper. Like that's just what a lot of people, I think, in my generation in particular, like my parents' generation, like that was just the stereotype. And and yes, I was easily distracted, but I never equated it with that. Like, to me, it was just, I'm not hyper, so I can talk fast, but that does not equate to being hyper. So and I'm an animated talker a lot of times, but again, to me, that didn't equate to being hyper. So I just never thought I was ADHD. Anyway, but I had learned a little bit over the last several months about it through this YouTube channel called How to ADHD, and I want to say her name is Jessica, I think is her name. Forgive me if I'm wrong. It might be Jennifer. I think it's with a J, but I'm pretty sure it's Jessica. Anyway, through her channel, I had learned a little bit more, and so I started kind of wondering, like, maybe I think I kind of have some of these tendencies, but it's probably just my anxiety, depression. Like, that's probably more so what it really is, and I just am resonating with some of these symptoms. Anyway, very long story short, long story that I've already made long. As I was explaining some of the issues to my psychiatrist, and I was talking to him about the last couple of years and just what's gone on and things I've been struggling with, he was like, it sounds like you have ADHD. And I was like, okay. And so we talked about it, and yeah, he hit the nail on the head with things. And so he said that I have ADHD, and he offered me a couple different options for medicines, because I have been taking sertraline for a while, which, to be quite honest, I think has been, as I've done a little bit more research on that since getting this diagnosis, I actually think that's been it's had positives for me, but I think looking back, it's been very emotionally blunting. It's caused me to be very numb, I think, in a lot of ways. And so, and emotional blunting is kind of the term that I had learned through learning about sertraline, which is like a knockoff Zoloft, or the generic Zoloft. And through learning about that, yeah, I would say that it's been a lot more. It's been very numbing to me. So anyway, I told him, so he wanted me to go on this other, he gave me a couple options. I could do like a full-on stimulant ADHD type medicine, or I could do something like Wellbutrin, which is technically an antidepressant, but a lot of people who have ADHD will take Wellbutrin because it kind of, it's not a stimulant, but it kind of acts as like a, he said, the way he explained it to me was a lot of people, they'll be really like go in the morning on Wellbutrin, like they can get things done in the morning, they can be more productive. And then by the end of the day, you know, he said, you know, take your sertraline at the end of the day because that'll help you, you know, wind down or whatever. And so, and I felt more comfortable doing the Wellbutrin because I felt like, because I had just gotten this diagnosis and I didn't know much about it, the diagnosis or the medicine, I was like, oh, well, I'll do the Wellbutrin because it seems like a nice in between to maybe kind of give me that oomph in the morning and kind of see if that helps at all. So he prescribed me that and I started taking it the next day, and I'll be honest, it has been a huge game changer. It has been, I want to slowly taper off the sertraline. I'm going back to my psychiatrist at the end of this month for like a 6-week, you know, check-in appointment, see how things are going. I'd like to slowly start tapering off the sertraline just to see if, because who knows, maybe I need them both. Maybe I need the Wellbutrin and the sertraline. I don't know. But, so I'll talk to him and see what he thinks. But all of that to say, the Wellbutrin, it has just been so much better. Obviously, I still have days, right? Like, because that's just life. But I've been able to get so much more done. Clearly not that laundry. But I feel like I've been much more productive. I feel like, and my husband will attest to this as well, it's definitely had a positive effect on me. And, you know, anyway, so I'm really grateful for this medicine, and I'm very thankful for it. I feel like it's been very helpful. And not even to mention the amount of learning I've done about ADHD in the last month and a half, and how everything I watch about ADHD, everything I learn about it, oh man, it almost, like, it makes me want to cry. I have a hard time actually crying about it because, again, I think the sertraline, and this is a whole other story in and of itself, but I think the sertraline has very much numbed me emotionally. So I'll have feelings where I want to cry, but I can't. But I feel the sensation of crying. Anyway, maybe that's what it feels like to me. Like, I feel like in any normal circumstance, I would be crying at this, but I'm not, because I think I'm just emotionally numb in a sense. But that's another story. The point is, I am learning so much about ADHD, and I am just blown away at the realization. It's both a relief. It also makes me kind of sad that I didn't know sooner. Not sad, but just almost like I wish I would have known sooner, because I feel like a lot of the a lot of the self-loathing I've dealt with over the years, a lot of the struggles I've had, a lot of the, you know, I know for a fact that people, and I'm not just saying that because, oh, I think people think this about me. Like, I know for a fact that people have thought I'm lazy. They've said I'm lazy to other people. I've gone through, you know, when I was young, I went through so many jobs. I was only ever fired from one, but I started and quit so many jobs. I think from the time I was 18 to the time I was 23, I'd had like 25 jobs. I changed my major so many times when I was in community college because I just could not figure out what I wanted to do. And I wanted to do everything. Like, anyway, just, and those are just two like little examples, but so many things. And just learning how ADHD so often gets missed in women because it looks different than in boys. Most women typically will have the ADHD eye most of the time. Some, you know, some of them have the hyper, some of them have a combination, but a lot of times the more inattentive gets attributed to women, so it goes unnoticed. It also goes, I've just realized also how much it goes unnoticed in like people of color, because, you know, it's just kind of more assumed like, oh, they're acting that way because they're black. And so there's the stereotype of whatever. So it gets missed in a lot of people of color. It gets missed in women. Because it's just either completely missed or it's assumed to be just, you know, stereotypical, you know, prejudice or whatever. So it gets missed a lot. And boys tend to be more hyperactive, so that's why it's kind of been this thing like, we'll medicate the boys. All the boys have ADHD, right? And that's where that stereotype comes from. Anyway, I'm really rambling. Like I said, I had no intention of what this video was going to be, and I just started filming. So, but that's okay. I like videos like that, so maybe if you're watching this, you like those kind of videos too. But, you can listen to me ramble while you do chores or something. But anyway, all of that to say, what I was saying was that what I've been learning about ADHD, just the history of ADHD, what ADHD looks like, what it is. Also, yes, my sleeve is ripping, but I just have not. I love this sweater. It's a cozy sweater, and it's like a long sleeve shirt. I just haven't thrown it away yet or fixed it. So, but anyway, what was I saying? I don't know. I need to go warm up my coffee. Point is, I've been learning a lot about ADHD, and I really am resonating with all of it. And it's just like, I've had this my whole life. I look back and I'm like, this has been it. Like, this has been the thing. And I read this great, I got this book after I got diagnosed. I went to Barnes & Noble because I wanted to look at their ADHD books. I wanted a book that I could read. And I found this book called, You Mean I'm Not Lazy, Stupid, or Crazy? And seriously, like, first of all, this is my life right here. It's just so nice to see that other people get it, I guess, and have like really an entire new world that has opened up to me by learning about ADHD and learning how my brain works. And one of the things, well, there's two things in this book that I've already read, and I have not read very much of it yet. I'm only like in the second chapter, I think. But anyway, a couple things they've said that really I'll end the video with this because it's just been so helpful to me, is that ADHD is not an excuse, it's an explanation. I would say not to say that it can never be used as an excuse, because there's always those situations, and I it's very possible to use a mental illness or a physical issue. You can use anything as an excuse, right? So I'm not saying it could never be used as an excuse, but the reality is it's an explanation for behavior. It's not an excuse for behavior. And that was just really, really mind-blowing to me. That was one of the things, because for a long time, I just always felt like I was making excuses, or that people were going to think I was making excuses, or people did think I was making excuses. And I won't say that I've never used, mental health as an excuse. I have. But I think just to know, like, it is a real thing, and it's a real thing for other people, and it's a real thing for me. My son, learning through this, he has not been officially diagnosed, but even just learning about it more so, I'm like, I looked at the criteria, and I'm like, yep, I'm pretty sure my son has the hyper. Either I think he has the combination one, but I'm not a believer in self-diagnosing. Like I said, I don't want to self-diagnose, and I don't want to, Google diagnose or DSM-5 diagnose my son. I'll leave that up to a professional medical doctor or something. But I don't think I would ever put my son on medicine, not because I'm against it. I just think I I don't know. I just wouldn't want to use it personally on my son. I don't know. If it was ever something that was really interfering with his life, then sure. But as of right now, he's 7.5 years old. Like, I'm just not going to put him on a stimulant medication. But if he even had it, but I'm pretty sure he does. And to be honest, like, even in the last month and a half, I've been much more gracious and patient with my son, because I recognize it now for what it is. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. And it makes so much sense about me. And I'm now seeing how much sense it makes about my son as well, and his behaviors. Not that he behaves badly, but just like things that I've noticed throughout especially the last few years, as he's really just coming into his own personality and things like that. And his behaviors and just the way he is and how he interacts with things. And I'm like, man, I think he might have this as well. So at his next wellness check, we will find that out. But all of that to say, not to share share medical information about my 7-year-old child on the internet, but I think he does, personally, as just a parent. I think he does. But being aware of it's made me more gracious towards him. And I can already tell that change has been positive. It's just been really good because I'm aware of it now. And it's kind of, the, if you buy a new car, you've never had that brand of car before, and then that's like the car you see all the time now. It's that kind of thing. And not that I'm going around diagnosing everybody, but it's just really eye-opening. So that was one thing in here that they talked about, was that it's an explanation, not an excuse. And the other thing they said was there will still be people who don't believe it, like, because it's just been the stigma of ADHD for so long. And I've also heard recently that it's kind of like the trendy mental health disorder right now, like on TikTok or whatever. That's what I heard. I'm not on TikTok, but I've heard that, back when like Tumblr was really popular, it was like bipolar or depression, anxiety, like that they were trendy mental health issues. I don't understand all that. I don't know. But it's just the stigma that's been around it, is that ADHD is all in your head, basically. And that was what they brought up. Like, there will still be people that think it's all in your head. And there might even be people that when you use your ADHD to explain yourself, there might be people who will even say to you, I think that's just in your head. That's just kind of a common response. And these ladies who both have ADHD, their response is to, you cannot say anything, and you can just reaffirm yourself with this phrase, or you can educate someone by saying, you're right, it is all in my head. It's a neurobiological disorder. It's a disorder of the central nervous system. You are right. It is literally in my head. And I loved that. Like, I don't know if I would ever have the guts to say that to somebody, but I probably could if I was offended enough. But anyway, that was also it was very helpful to hear that, I think. I just needed that kind of reassurance. And so anyway, that's really, I guess, all I wanted to say, I think. Like I said, I got on here not really. I've been talking for 28 minutes, and I was not planning on even making this video. So there you go. I am not against medicating children, but I'm not going to medicate my child. I just wanted to put that out there. My kid might not even have it, so I'm not trying to, I don't edit my videos, so I'm not trying to, overshare about him or anything like that, because I don't believe in that either. But I obviously did, so there it is. But anyway, yeah. So I'm just really grateful for that diagnosis. So, I'm gonna go warm up my coffee, and there you go. So yeah, I think I had been kind of wanting to make a video like this, just to, not this disjointed, but I wanted to kind of share, or at least verbalize, even for my own sake, kind of how I got that diagnosis and what getting that diagnosis has done for me so far, just even in the month and a half that I've had it. So yeah, it was really, really good. And so I would highly recommend, maybe if I remember to, I'll share a couple links in the description of this video for videos that really helped me kind of come to terms with the fact, or even realize the fact that I have ADHD, and videos that have, just really, really resonated with me and really, really helped me. So anyway, I'm done now. That's all I've got. So have a great day. Thanks for watching if you made it this far. Okay, bye.